Right now, I'm mostly known for my role as Meguru Bachira in the show Bluelock. It's a soccer anime. If for those of you that want to check it out, it's awesome. It's on Crunchyroll.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to PlungeCast from here and down here in New Zealand, Whangarei. Most of you guys probably know us around the world from the Lord of the Rings. And as our friend here, Drew Breedlove knows as well, we're talking off air about New Zealand. So what I want to do now is let Drew introduce himself and quick bio, and then we'll get into it. Take it away.
Cool. Hi, guys. My name is Drew Breedlove, and I am an American actor. Right now, I'm mostly known for my role as Meguru Bachira in the show Bluelock. It's a soccer anime. If for those of you that want to check it out, it's awesome. It's on Crunchyroll, and yeah, I've been acting for almost 15 years now, which is absolutely crazy. But yeah, here I am, which is awesome.
Awesome. So 15 years.
Yeah, almost now. Yeah.
So how did you get into acting?
So when I was in high school, I took theater, and I wasn't going to do a high school theater, or I wasn't going to do it all through high school. But our program had a junior varsity and varsity theater program, and I ended up auditioning for it, and I fell in love with it. And I had an uncle of mine that he was actually in the film industry for 45 years. He was a props master, which is basically the guy that's in charge of all the props. So he worked on like the Goonies and National Treasure and the Lethal Weapon movies too, if you've heard of those. So he told me to do film. And so, right out of high school, I got an agent, and I started doing commercials, and I started doing, films and stuff like that. And then somewhere along the way, I fell into voiceover through an old church of mine, and here I am.
I was just thinking about when you mentioned Goonies, I should have done it earlier, but just last week I picked up a little book about behind the scenes, because I have a background in film. I studied film for 3 years, so anytime I see books like that, lighting, or I always pick it up. And so I found one at a little hospice last week, and had all these little drawings of the prop, of the sets and stuff like that. It was really fantastic. It's up there somewhere, but I should have grabbed it earlier. So it seemed like grabbing books, script books and stuff as well. You're always going to have those come in handy. So I way back then, when they didn't have CGI, and you had to get there and cut up all the latex, design it, pour it into the mold. I'm sure he's there playing with putty or playing with clay, molding it all, and then putting it onto plaster, and then turning the plaster over again, and then pouring the latex, and now you've got the mask for Goonies and all the other creatures in there. It's fantastic what was able to be achieved without computers, back then. And did you spend a lot of time with them, on set, or did did he show you all the props and stuff that he was making?
So I actually have a couple of the gold coins from the pirate ship of Goonies
that is
in
awesome.
the last scene. Yeah, and so he passed away in 2019, but beforehand I'd stayed actually with him in 2018, and he had taken me to all these. He was the president of his guild for 3 or 4 years, and I can't remember the name of the guild, but you see the logo at the end of all the credits. And so he did that. He took me to his guild. He took me behind the scenes he mostly worked with Paramount a lot, and Fox. So he took me kind of behind the scenes of those studios and showed me around the lots. And, he had endless stories of people he worked with. One of his favorite actors he ever worked with was actually Bill Murray on Scrooged. He said Bill Murray was super nice. And one of his favorites, him and Nicolas Cage, of course, on National Treasure. He loved Nick Cage too. So
it's quite interesting, it's really finding out from other people from people that work and the crew kind of thing behind the scenes, what the actors who are, who the face of the films are like, because usually, all you hear is bad stuff, but when you hear stuff like this, that this guy's a nice person and the crew does it, it's like the waiter who, going to get food and the waiter goes, that was a nice guy. I had a moment last year where I had a bit of a Karen moment because I used to be a wine waiter. And so I was saying, the glass isn't right, mate. And then, and then later on I went and tipped it. I was like, my friends are going, stop being a Karen. I'm like, I'm just trying to make sure that this kid who's starting out doesn't get some other horrible person, mess up on him. So I went, okay, here's a tip, which I was going to do from all along. But it's really, sometimes you have those moments where, have you had that moment where you're there, you're tried and you want a thing, and then somebody comes, can I have your signature, please? Have you had those moments?
Well, not yet. I have a lot of people that have approached me, though. I'm getting to the point where it's slowly but surely, because Bachira, he's kind of my first major role. Like, I've been acting for a while, but he's kind of the one that put me on the map. Like, I don't know if you saw, but I'm actually wearing the World Cup of Japan, and on the back is my character name. And
awesome.
And these are Bluelock affiliated jerseys. That Japan wore when they beat Spain and Germany. And so, and then I officially, which is crazy, right? Yeah. And I didn't know that so the guy that wrote Bluelock is actually the assistant to the Attack on Titan creator.
Wow.
And so, we just hit $20 million copies of manga in circulation now. And so it's blowing up. So I've never had a character like this. Like, I have figurines now. I've got, they have so much merch for this show coming out. And it's not even, we just celebrated the 15th release of the English version. And I think the Japanese just put out the 18th episode. And so this is only the first season and we already have this much traction. And they're talking about, I mean, the manga, I believe, has 206 chapters right now. So it's a long way to go.
Well, I was thinking about, like, when I was watching it, it's kind of like, because it came out in 2018, right? The manga came out in 2018. And so I'm watching it and I'm thinking, wait, this feels like it was geared for the World Cup. It was like the biggest push they could put out. This is like the vehicle. They made sure, hey, what should we do? There's a World Cup coming up. Let's write a Japan going for the World Cup soccer thing. And it was perfect. I think the timing, the marketing, everything around this was perfect. And then the anime comes out. There's already a fan base for the manga. Then the anime comes out and it blows up. And the perfect timing as well, because it comes out when the World Cup's on. And because I was looking at all the dates and stuff, it's like the September. The anime came out episode 1, and through the time period of the actual soccer, because I don't watch soccer. I don't even watch the World Cup. I only saw some bits of it, clips of it. But I used to, as a kid, I was a soccer player. Growing up in Fiji. So So is that you clicking on the keyboard, or is that something else? I'm not sure what's going on. I wonder if it's me on my side.
It's you're popping in and out.
Weird. Okay.
Technology, man, it's great.
Yeah, it's weird. Right. So I remember, because Fiji, like, Indians play soccer, Fijian natives, indigenous people play rugby. So you had everybody that was, Indian would be playing soccer. So I'm like about 10 years old playing soccer, 7 years old, 6 years old playing soccer and stuff.
Cool.
But like when we moved over to New Zealand, it was like, okay, I got into rugby. So, I mean, we were talking about, previously you're talking about what is New Zealand known for, rugby and Lord of the Rings. So now back to film. So when you were doing theater, back to acting, when you got into theater, it was like stage for, what was it for?
Yeah. So, I was doing stage production. So I started out doing a lot of stage plays, doing a lot of improv, kind of thing. And that kind of stuff actually really, really helped me when it came to film, because once I graduated, I started getting into film workshops and stuff. And I had the energy of a stage production, but the workshops kind of taught me how to, because, in film, the audience is like right there, so they see every
Yeah.
little, facial expression. So it was good to kind of bring me back, but I still had that energy that I had on theater. And and I think it translates really well to voiceover as well, because anime is got so much energy. It's just so much all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that is pretty. That's a good. What is it? It's like, it's a very interesting thing because like you like I've done theater as well. So people look at you really close up for your expressions, but then you're talking about moving pictures now. You're actually talking about drawings that move. And let me just. It's weird. Like I think there's some.
You're quiet now. You're quiet.
I was just trying to check if it's my side that was clicking, but anyway. So with animation and anime, it's just drawing pictures, and they've already got to sort it out. So I'm kind of getting into ADR work now. So when you have to fill in like the movements of how the mouth move compared to how Japanese language is, the movement is compared to them on the screen, and then you've got coming in and doing ADR as an English dub actor. How much how much how much can you change that, or how much do you have to keep in line with what is being said?
So it just depends, because beforehand you have people that have already gone through and they look at the sub and they kind of translate it to how it would fit the flaps in English. So they have to stay pretty close to the original story, but also make it make sense for an English-based audience, right?
Yeah.
Um, so so it just kind of, it depends, because Japanese, you're right, it does flow completely different from English. So but we still have to stay true to both sides, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because we are turning it into for an English based audience, so a lot of Japanese jokes may not hit with an English audience, or a lot of Japanese pop references may not necessarily hit with an English audience. So there's that to consider as well. So yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of Police Academy, and I can't remember who the actor was. Who I'm not sure if you've seen it, but like he does this thing where he's talking, but his mouth moves differently. I'm not sure if it's not Hightower. Hightower is the other guy, but like it's a black actor way back in 80s. Police Academy was one of the biggest comedy shows around. Comedy movies around, and he's very famous. He's doing all these kung fu moves, and he talks and things.
He thinks he's Bruce Lee. You want to bet?
Daniel, wanna fight, huh? Fight me!
But so it kind of reminds me of that, and you're trying to fill in these like words there, of movement, and I find it fascinating because people don't realize how tough it can be doing ADR work, because you got somebody else doing the script, and then you having to walk into that little into the box, and walking into the box, you've got do you have somebody there directing you got to say it this way or say it that way, or do you just say, see the screen, what is happening, and then say it in line with that?
So when you go into record, they tend to have they have the script, and then they have the Japanese playback that you watch, right? So on the other side of this wall, this glass wall, is the director and the sound engineer, and they kind of they talk to you through the headset and kind of direct you, like, okay, change this line a little more, just typical directions. And then so a lot of times what you're doing is you've never seen the script before, so you're trying to memorize it, try to look at the mouth flaps, create a emote this character, and then create a voice on it. And so it's a lot. ADR work is pretty tough. I actually I did ADR work. I've done live action dubs as well, and then I shot a Hallmark type movie a couple of years ago that I was in, and so I actually had to do ADR work for myself, which was really weird. Yeah, that was weird doing that, because there were some parts that the boom mic hadn't picked up because it was too windy, or I think like an airplane flew overhead. So I had to go back and do ADR work for that. So that was weird. Yeah, it's people don't realize like doing ADR work. Yeah, it's pretty challenging. For sure.
So now you mentioned commercials earlier on.
Yes.
Going back a bit.
Do what?
Commercials.
Yes, commercials. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've done. I still audition for commercials all the time. I've done a lot of commercials here for a lot of U.S. based restaurants. Like there's one called Applebee's. There's Taco Bueno. It's a lot of food chains here in America, and so I've done a lot of commercials with those. I've done some what are called industrials, basically like if you ever have a company and they have like, you have to watch like training videos whenever you first start or whatever. And, there's always the cheesy actors in there. I've done industrials like that too. And then I've done a couple mini series and, a film or two. And then I do a lot of anime. So yeah, that's what I've done.
So apart from Bluelock, what was, I saw some of the pictures, and one of them is another one of my favorite animes, and I was just thinking, go on with the pink monkey, the big gorilla. You want to tell us about that a bit more?
Oh, the pink gorilla. Yeah, so that is so the Fruit of Evolution is the name of that one, and that one is actually it's an isekai, and it's hilarious, and that one is actually how I got cast as Bachira, which is interesting because the director of that, he's a new director, and he was directing that, and he called me in for this little 15-second role, and he loved what I did with that role so much that he was like, I feel like this guy could do really well with Bachira, this character. So because of that show, I was able to be cast in Bluelock, which is awesome. It's so cool. But that show is hilarious. It's really good. There's a lot of Bluelock people that work on that. If you've seen Bluelock, the guy that plays Kuon, which I won't spoil anything about him, but the guy that plays Kuon is actually the lead in the Fruit of Evolution as well. So,
oh wow,
yeah, it's pretty cool. That one's a pretty funny one, and I believe that one is actually on its second season as well.
Yeah, it's just started, so I'm quite excited about that.
Yeah.
So one of the other things, just I thought it was like no small parts, right?
Hold on, you're popping in and out again.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here because we were perfect before, so I'm gonna pop out again and come back in. I'm just excited to have Drew on because it's just like so cool to see someone, all these parts has led to him to do, to the stage right now, and it's quite exciting for me, and I'm sure exciting for our fans, anime fans here in New Zealand who are into soccer or just into anime itself. It's such a cool thing. So I'm quite, that's why I reached out when Drew reached out to me about conventions and stuff. I thought, hey, let's bring him on and show the excitement that this anime has brought around because of the soccer tournament and because of what's happening with soccer around the world now being such a popular thing because of the of the championships with Dubai. How are we doing now?
All right. I mean, does it sound better?
Perfect now.
It must be. I don't know, man. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. Yeah, it's like every time I talk, you went higher, and like I was like, can't be me. So I muted myself for about a couple of minutes there. Yeah. So we're talking about commercials and
yes,
and actually doing tutorial videos. Did you do the voiceovers for those ones?
So the commercials I did not. No, I was physically in there, and they had a different actor that was voicing over me. So like I still had lines and stuff, but you know how like in commercials they're like, check out this product. So I had guys like that voicing over me. That was actually before I got in commercial or before I got into voiceover. I haven't done any voiceover commercials yet.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Oh no, I meant like you mentioned about like doing commercials and then you're doing some tutorial videos for companies. Like
Right.
technical things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get into that?
That so when I graduated high school, I found an agency that's local here to Dallas, and you know, I gave them my resume and stuff, and lo and behold, they were a newer agent and they were looking for talent. And so I got in, and he's the one that's actually, he sends me all the auditions and stuff like that. So
Awesome.
yeah, it's pretty cool. That's how I get a lot of my on-camera work. But he only does on-camera and modeling. All of my voiceover stuff is pure word of mouth.
That's awesome, man. I mean, like, it's kind of interesting. Like, you don't expect to be like, you know, like you said, you did a little bit of thing for Fruit of Evolution, and you know, person there sees you, goes, you know what, this kid can do bigger stuff, and or this, you know, I can, you know, he can do better, and then boom, you know, the biggest sports anime, if I can say that, sports anime in the world right now, because I remember back in 2015 there was a basketball anime that was really huge at that time.
Yeah,
I can't remember what it was, but I know one of my friends was really into it. And you know, they also had the, you know, the jackets, you know, like the soccer, you know, so they had the like the basketball tops for that as well.
Yeah,
you know, and now you've got soccer tops for this you know, for Bluelock. And the one of the amazing things about manga that I find why it's such a has gotten so popular is the support the actual companies put behind the work.
Yeah.
You know, the actual, like, say, you know, let's say you've got like I don't know, say, yeah, you've got like Cowboy Bebop, right?
Nice.
So that comes out and they go, oh, and it comes out by chapters, and the company realized, you know, they could Sushaya or something like that, realizes this is, you know, the readers are really into it, and they go, okay, let's give it a couple more chapters and let's see what happens. And then they go, oh, it's really popular. Then they go, all right, let's start marketing it. You know, let's put this out, let's put that. Now, when it comes to comic books, they don't do that. They basically just put it out there and it's there. You know, they think there's like all the other things in the past will take care of it and will make it happen. But, and this is what I think, you know, you even look at like, what was it? Sorry, Chainsaw Man, right? You look at Chainsaw Man.
Yeah.
I read the first 3 pages of that, and I thought this is going to be huge. Right away, I knew this was going to be huge because I could see the emotion that was in it, and you know, and that's the next thing I want to talk about is like bringing emotion to what your characters are. So you can, like, even on the paper, right? Because I'm a writer myself, and so you can see on the first 3 pages, first 5 pages on paper, this is a very emotionally driven horror comic, you know, manga, and I could tell straight away it would be huge, without even watching the anime. Anime haven't even come out, but just by the 3 pages or 5 pages, I think it was, I was like, okay. And it was just online. I was just thinking, what is this about? I was like, boom. I was like, this is going to be huge. And next thing you know, within like about, I guess about 6 months, it just blew up. And it's, you know, I was at anime convention last year, and a little, you know, a 12-year-old kid, I think it was about almost 12, made his own costume out of cardboard as Chainsaw Man. He had the tie, he had the shoes, you know, white shirt. And I'm like, because I was on the stage and I was introducing all the, you know, cosplayers, and I was thinking, and I was saying, man, I knew this was going to pop up, and it did. And I can see this kid here is into it. It shows, you know, there's Japan all the way over there, and here we are down here in New Zealand appreciating this art form. And I mean, I even have the little dog, right? Demon dog, you know, plushie in the cupboard. And but that's big, you know, that's the thing about what the support for the creative mangaka and manga is out there compared to what anybody does with the comic industry in the West. And I think that, so the other thing I was thinking about is like, say I'm a writer, and you're all the way on the other side of the, you know, that entertainment thing. You're the guy who now is doing the voice for something created all the way with a kid with, you know, with a person with a drawing, you know, drawing this manga and writing the script, and you're on the other side doing the English version of it. How does it feel? Like, I mean, you know, seeing something that whole arc from another language, another culture coming all the way to the, you know, to the West in English.
Yeah, it's nuts, man, because you know, the Japanese have such a very great way of storytelling, like especially with anime, because the thing is, like, anime, one episode could be totally ridiculous, and then the next one they have you like in tears, bawling your eyes out, you know.
Yeah.
And so they're so good about doing that. So being a part of something like that, especially with Bluelock, because, you know, when people think soccer, you know, they think, oh, it's sports, but then, like, you know, they take it like it's such a stylized and dark and very serious show, but then some parts of it are totally just like ridiculous and off the wall. Like, it's just, it's all over the place. And, you know, that's why I have such respect for, especially a lot of mangaka. I can never pronounce it right, but the authors, you know, I have a lot of respect for them, because their way of storytelling is so great. And being a part of that is it's awesome. Because, you know, I'm part of the reason that, you know, I can bring it to a different audience, you know, and bring it to English, and you know, it's really cool. It's really, really cool.
So earlier I was like about emotion and stuff, and and ReZero. So ReZero is one of my favorite animes, right? It's one of the ones that tears me up, right? Really, when we talk about emotion, bringing tears to your eyes. So now there is one episode, I think it's in season 2 or something, and it might be episode 7 or 4, and you've got a dialogue between Rem, I think it's Ram and Rob, and the main character, right? And it's almost like 6-7 minutes of just talking on the top of a roof, and every time I play it, there's tears in my eyes, right? So I'm coming back from this anime festival, and my friend's right next to me, same as just me. It's about 40, 48, 50. You know, I'm 50 this year, and he's next to me driving, and I go, "Hey man, you need to listen to this anime." I'm like, you need to listen to this, and I'm playing it on my phone, right? And I'm looking out the window because I don't want him seeing tears in my eyes. So I'm just looking out there because I'm like, you know, boiling up, and he's just going, that was a long dialogue. There's a lot of speaking there. And I'm like, yeah, it was. And this is and you're thinking like, this is the English version of a Japanese, you know, character. And the actor there was able to bring the emotion. And I'm just listening to it in the car this time. You know, I'm not watching it because I've already seen it a couple of times, and I've shared that very often on our Facebook page, because it's so cool to see what you can do with a cartoon or anime, how much emotion you can bring to it, where you can connect the audience on this emotional level just through pictures. Because a lot of times people think that manga and comics are just for kids, so that they basically, you know, they put it over that side. So what's the point of it? It's just drawings, you know. It's not, you know, they don't think of it as high art, or they don't think of something of value like, say, a film, right? You know, when they give you awards, they don't go, here's a Oscar for the best anime in the world, you know. It'll be just for the film kind of thing. So I thought, like, how do you bring that emotion to, say, your characters? Like you're saying, there's some dark moments, there's some fun moments, and then some serious moments, because this one's like a real life, I think, what is it called? Like a real life, and also a sci-fi, because there's a lot of sci-fi elements to this manga.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, bringing the emotion to that. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So for me, I wish I could answer it a little better, but like, so when I perform, I always aim to, and I'm getting better at getting to it, but I always aim for what I like to call like the tunnel. And what's very interesting is like being so in the moment that like you almost have like, it's almost like tunnel vision, right? So like for me, I know that I've done a good job when I go into a scene and I come out of it, I don't even know what I just did. And the director's like, great job. And I'm like, cool. And I'm like, I have no idea what I did, but I'm glad you like it. You know, so that's for me. Like if I know what I'm doing, I know that I'm not in the moment, and then therefore I'm like, all right, this is okay. But then like if I go into it like and the director says action and go or whatever, and I come out of it and I have no idea what I did, that's how I know that I've emoted how I need to,
Mm.
So I wish I could answer it a little better, but that's
No,
my
that's fine. I mean,
approach to
like
it.
it just reminded me when I was on stage, right? Like I had to play the devil sometimes. I had to play a rat one time who
Yeah.
rapped, right? Who did hip hop songs and stuff. And there were some times where you're like playing the villain, and I love villains. I think like
Yes.
like there's so much you can do with the villain to really captivate your audience. You can be nasty as you can be, and nobody would care how nasty you are because hey, he's the villain. But when you're the good guy, you're kind of like, there's so much you're allowed to do. You kind of like got a box around you. You have to behave this way, but it's like Heath Ledger playing the Joker, right? Or anybody playing the Joker. It's like we know what the Joker's like. There's no limits to his cruelty and stuff, and so or whatever he wants to do, and how, and then he can bring whatever he wants to, and everybody be like, yeah, it's just he's supposed to do that. It doesn't matter. So tell us a bit about Bachiro, right? This character a bit more for those who don't know.
So he's a lot of fun. He's kind of the crazy one in this. Well, I say that, but literally everyone in the show is pretty crazy. But he's like the crazy one. So he when he plays soccer, he has an imaginary, I guess, friend, if you will, that he calls the monster. And so he's kind of the possessed one that sees a lot of stuff. And he's kind of like Isagi, which is the main character. He's like Isagi's right-hand man, essentially. Yeah. So he sees a lot of things in Isagi that Isagi doesn't necessarily see yet. And he's very much a character like, so Bluelock is all about these guys trying to be the best, right? Whoever has the biggest ego, whoever can one-up each other. There's a bunch of backstabbing. There's a bunch of, most sports animes are all, teamwork and let's help each other. This one's not that. But Bachira is one of the few characters that he actually is there just to have fun. He doesn't care about winning the World Cup. He doesn't care about, necessarily being the best there is. At the end of the day, he wants the challenge. He wants, to have fun at what he does. And so, he's a little crazy. So he has his really fun, side, but he also has that monster in him, and so there's two totally different sides to Bachira. And I think that's why for me, he's so much fun to play. And I think that's why a lot of people like him too. Because one side's just a happy-go-lucky guy, and the other one's just absolutely crazy, right? So I love Bachira. He's awesome.
That's awesome, man. I mean, like, that is pretty cool, right? You're playing two parts of this thing. So you got the like we're talking about villains, right? And we talk about heroes, and he's almost like a hero, and he's almost like a villain as well. But he's like an anti-hero kind of character that you brought to, that you're able to play, and I watched like about the first 4 episodes because I'm involved in so much stuff. So I'm like, okay, I need to make sure I watch at least the gist of this because, and I love it. And I think it's I just need to get a bit more into it. But seeing the dark character come in, his invisible friend was interesting because it kind of adds a horror element to it as well.
Yes.
And it's not like you said before. There's a darker thing, and it's like this is allowing to add horror to this. Everyday soccer team, who are trying to, competing against each other to be the best forward. It is the forward, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. They're competing to be the best forward. Yeah.
And I love the other thing. It's like you've got all these. There's the other part of Japanese culture that's in here, where you see the nice, people are saying, oh, why do we have to do this? We're nice people. We don't have to, we're in it. We don't have to win it. We're in it. We're just part of this whole world. We don't have to try to beat anybody. We've made it. And it's like, and the lady gets up and goes, is that all, it's kind of like saying, is that all you want? Just be second in the world, third, fourth in the world, as long as you're there. It's like, I don't want that, and then, and that's where I think there was a 4th episode or something where the other guy comes in who lost his visa and now he's back in Japan and there's about to, and that's where I'm at with the, I think it might even be episode 3, but it's very, I love the fact this has more elements than just soccer to it because I love sci-fi, I love fantasy, I love horror, I love comedy, and this has everything in it, which is
It does.
why I think really jumped out at people. So
Yeah.
when you
Oh, sorry. It's you're right. And what's so interesting is I'm not caught up with the manga. I like to leave a little bit of surprise for myself to figure out, like, what I'm doing next week or whatever. So I spoil myself a little bit, but then I keep enough just to surprise. But I have been talking to fans of the show who are caught up, and they say, just wait till this, just wait till this.
Yeah.
It's basically, it's one of those shows and one of those mangas that, like, just when you think it couldn't get any better, or just when you think it couldn't get any crazier, it gets crazier and it gets better. And it does this, and they said it does it all the way through, like, very well written, great characters, and there's a lot of them that they actually rotate in and out. And they said that it's very good about giving each character their own screen time and making you connect with those characters. And so that's why I think, everyone has their favorite character. And like I said, that writing just keeps going higher and higher and higher, even when you think, okay, where are they going to go from here? And then they go somewhere from there, And so that's why I think it's gaining a lot of traction, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is, like, we were talking about merchandise, right? I saw your, I was looking, I sent a DM out like earlier, and I was looking at the Twitter on our Plunge NZ1 Twitter account, right? So, and I saw the shoes. It's, oh man, that was brilliant. I haven't seen, I don't know if it's just me or haven't done before, but that's the first time I've seen anime on shoes come out so quickly and look so good.
Yeah, they're great. They're great. Those were a Christmas present from my grandmother, and because I was thinking, I was like, how are some ways that I can rep Bachira, going to cons? And she was like, here's some Converse, and I was like, that's cool, that's awesome. So now I've got, those are my convention shoes now, like, so I'm very excited to wear them.
Converses are the best shoes in the world. I think about 6 pairs. I have 2 pairs. I have 3 pairs. One was a beige color that I had my friend paint it. Get this out. This is his art style. So he painted our own characters on it. So this is
you
just
skateboard. I was about to ask. I skateboard too.
Oh, when I was a teenager, when I was 17, 18, 15, I think up till about 91, because this is like when I was 17, about up to 21. I was a skateboarder, and then afterwards I became a rollerblader, and then I had an accident. I smashed my head into a pole on rollerblades, and that was kind of like the end of that whole, But it's just I come from the Gen X thing where, like, you just did crazy stuff, right? You just not just crazy, you just had no limits to yourself.
Skateboarding the rules and all that,
going down friggin' side of the road on skateboards and not worrying about it. I've got scars, everywhere,
Yeah.
And it's because it's just so much fun. Because you just I think it's you gotta risk some stuff, and I think that's the side that people don't realize, that if you don't take risks in life, you don't get anywhere. But not taking dangerous risks. So, like, like, we were talking about earlier off screen about how you were going to do one thing and then your uncle said to do another thing. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I don't know how it is in other parts of the world, but in America, the big thing to do if you want to pursue theater is to go straight to New York City and pursue theater out there. Become a waitress or a waiter, and audition for Broadway and everything like that. So that's what I was going to do right outside of high school. But my uncle was in the film industry, and he was like, hey, why don't you try film? A lot of people go into film, they make their living in film, and then they retire and go to theater. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'll look into film. And then luckily, like I said, I booked that agent, and I was booking commercials, and I still do commercials. I still audition for a lot of stuff. And that's just how I fell into film. It's just very interesting. Without my uncle saying that, like, I probably would have gone straight for theater. But, and I didn't know anything about film when I tried for film at first. But now I've learned so much. I feel comfortable in a film environment, on a set, or, in voiceover. The first time I had ever done voiceover was at Funimation. And it was the most nerve-wracking thing. But now, having done it for God, almost, 7 years now. Now I feel a lot more comfortable in the booth. But I was super nervous to do it at first. So yeah, it's true. Some of the things that, going back to skateboarding, some of the things that make you the most frightened can sometimes be the things that help you out the most. You know what I mean? So for sure. But
I got it right this time.
heck yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, did you like? I mean, it was, you're talking about Funimation and how nerve-wracking that was.
Yeah.
How, what was that first one anime that you did the voiceover for?
So it was for a rugby anime called All Out, and
Okay.
I worked on the first 4 episodes of it, 4 or 5 episodes, and I was just doing bit rolls. So I was if you ever watch anime and you hear like, by the way, if you hear movies in the background, I apologize. But if you ever hear, if you watch anime and you hear like, the high schoolers screaming in the background while the main character's talking, or if like in One Piece, I've done some monsters in that, if you ever, have like the monsters that are like, oh, I'm going to kill you, that kind of stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's Walla. So I did a lot of Walla, especially in the beginning. And then as my career's progressed, I've managed to get a couple, more substantial roles under my belt. But Bachira by far is the biggest role that I have. So I'm very excited to see what doors open after this. So very excited.
So, I mean, rugby, right? New Zealand's known for rugby, world champions, on and off. It's kind of become this, suddenly it's become this very popular in America. I don't know how it became popular in America, but I think it was Friends. They kind of had it in there, and in a couple of episodes they were playing rugby in that in the 90s, and I think that's where it kind of started going, well, what's this rugby thing? And then it kind of went over to that, and then because American football, right, that was it, and then suddenly let's put a team into World Cup rugby, and so now it became Americans were in the World Cup.
My
what was
cousin
it like?
played rugby.
What was it like? Did you ever play rugby or know much about it before you did the All Out anime?
So the big thing. So the only sports I played, I did tennis. I was a tennis player. I used to watch Prince of Tennis. If you ever watched that one, it's classic. And then I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. So I do keep up with MMA sometimes. I'm not a huge MMA fan. My brother's a way bigger fan than I am, but I will watch a fight every once in a while. So those are the only sports that so when it comes to Bluelock, like soccer, I can't, my feet coordination's terrible. And then when it comes to rugby, the only experience I had, like I said, my cousin played, but so I would watch a game or two with him, but then he got injured and then he never played again because it was a bad injury. You know how rugby is, but that's the only experience I had with rugby before I was actually on the show. So it was kind of interesting trying to connect with that. In anime especially, there's so much anime, and then there's so many different storylines that you really have to learn to connect with like everything, and just learn to tell a story believably through that. And so anime is just, it's a totally different world, man.
Yeah, I mean it is. I mean, like I was discussing it with some people late last year, how the sale of manga itself alone, right? The latest chart came out. Manga is the top selling thing in the world. Like 2020, I think it was somewhere around about, I think it was 20 billion, right?
Wow.
$20 billion industry, and they reckon in 3 years, the whole thing, anime itself will be a $40 billion industry. So, I mean, I've got figurines all over the place. I've got manga. I've got, because of what we do with the convention with Plunge, we've got stock for that as well. And it's like this year's anime. This year's theme's anime. So, we know I knew how popular anime was like about maybe 9 years ago. Where are we? 2015, because I used to own a comic shop. So a lot of people would come in and play Yu-Gi-Oh, and Shadow Realm guys were coming, at that time we're just coming together. Now they
Yeah.
actually have a team of 60 players locally who play Yu-Gi-Oh! And game. Compared to then, it was like about 8 people, but this is
Yeah.
going in and out over that time. And then the other thing is that I'll be selling box sets, like, of manga. And I'm like,
Wow.
because I'm a comic guy for about 30 odd years. So I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Because I knew about manga, but I wasn't an anime. I watched a lot of anime back then, even then, but I didn't know much about the popularity of manga itself. And then you watch over the last 9 years, since 2015, how quickly are we on 4? No, 8 years. Sorry,
It's okay.
So it's gotten so popular, right? And not only that, but you've got anime conventions now, just for anime. And whereas before you had to have like movies and TVs and comic books, but now it's anime cons.
Yeah, see, it's not even just anime too. Like here in the States, and it may be there over there too, but you have conventions dedicated to specific animes. Like we have My Hero Con. We've got, of course, Dragon, Kamehameha Con, which is Dragon Ball Z. You've got they have they have a Naruto themed con, and I can't remember where it is, but I remember seeing it. And then they literally have cons dedicated to just specific anime shows. So it's absolutely nuts because my first anime was in 5th grade. I watched all the Ghibli movies, the Studio Ghibli movies, Spirited Away and Nausicaa and all that stuff. And so and then Funimation used to have their own cable network here in the States. So I would watch whatever came on that. So really, I'm kind of behind on anime. Anything 2012 and older, I watched, but anything newer, I watched One Punch Man, and I've seen a little bit of Demon Slayer, but I'm super behind. I need to catch up. But yeah, it's nuts because back then people would look at you and be like, "You watch anime?" And I've heard, I've actually heard from a lot of the old school anime actors that when they would tell people what they would do, people would be like, "You're a voice actor, you voice in cartoons and video games." It's weird. And now it's like, "Oh my God, you're a voice actor. Oh my God," and people flip out, and I heard it was the same way with superhero cartoons as well. Like back in the day, people would be like, because you were talking about comics in the show, and people would be like, "You voice in a comic? Like, that's weird." And then now it's like, "Oh my God, you're a XYZ superhero." People flip out. You know what I mean? It's crazy how much, everything flipped.
Yeah, I mean, it's I mean, you're right. Like coming back, so from the 80s and 90s, nobody really gave a hoot about the guy who's into Dungeons and Dragons, into comics, and now you're basically, you're the in crowd, right? Now you're the in crowd. Well, if you watch Stranger Things, you're the in crowd, and if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, you're the in crowd. Whereas before it was like, what, wizards and witches and dwarfs? What the hell's that? And it was really bad. I mean, I remember, I would never talk to my friends about it. They'll know that every Friday I'd get my paycheck, I'd go into town, buy a whole bunch of books, I'd read all weekend, I'd hang out with them on Saturday, go skateboarding, or even go skateboarding that night over to their place, stay the night or whatever, skate back home. The next day, all weekend would skate. But when I come home, I'm reading my comics,
Right.
And so it's, if you found somebody who was into comics, you'd be like, hey, straight away you connect and you're into it, and you just the two of you. And it was really hard trying to explain to people what comics were about, why it became so, such a captivating entertainment for you, when all they were interested in was movies and music, and that was it.
Yeah, and I think I saw this video the other day, and this guy was talking about how he was talking to younger generation people, and he was like, "I don't think you guys realize what we had to go through, in anime, what we had to go through to watch anime." Like he was talking about, we had to be borderline hackers in a way. We would have to go to third-party sites, download it, rip it together, and then some guy off the internet would put on subtitles that may or may not be correct, and then they would have to, there was this whole different thing. And he's like, now you could just go on 5 or 7 different streaming services, and boom, anime's right there. And he's like, it was a totally different time. Totally different.
Yeah, I mean,
time.
even Netflix is having Netflix series Netflix series animation,
Original
you know.
animes. Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, what do you mean original anime? This is, it's kind of weird because like they buy the rights to it. So, it's buy the rights to IP, to dub it, to create it.
Right.
And if you see somebody like Netflix spend so much money into it, you realize that this is next level. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and back to the manga sales charts, right? So
Yeah.
the thing here is like for the last 10 odd years, they've been like, okay, comics are doing really well, and now this whole thing came out, and you find out that comics isn't doing Western comics isn't doing so well, and
Yeah.
but here it is, manga's doing so huge, like totally killing the market. I think the
Yes.
top three, even the sorry, what was it called? Webtoons, like Neighbor, who owns Webtoons now,
Yeah.
or did own and still owns Webtoons, Webtoon. They're going into creating live action. They're buying American companies to do it. Create all these things. And I was watching the Golden Spoon, I think it was just recently, the live action of the Webtoon, and it's
Oh, wow.
fascinating it was fascinating to see, because I think one of the main actors in it is one of my favorite Korean actors. And it's like you look at the web, you've seen a webtoon, right? It's
Right.
it's
Yeah.
totally different to a manga, and it's totally again different to a comic book.
Yeah.
It's just like one bubble, little picture, another bubble, little picture, some text, little
Yeah.
picture on the size of a phone, right?
Right.
Phone screen.
Right.
And then to see that turn into a live action, millions and millions of dollars put into a TV show like that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
with top tier actors, uh, being put behind that, it's
Yeah.
amazing. And that's what I mean. Like, so when you see, like, when I was talking about being a writer earlier, you're writing something, all that changes that go to it, and I'm sure they're going to probably end up making a live action Bluelock because of how popular it is,
They
into a
have
movie.
in Japan in May, I believe they're doing a theater production that is
Wow.
touring in Japan, and I'm very curious to see how they're going to do it. But they've
Yeah.
they've got a stage production going right now, and everyone that I've seen on forums and stuff, they're begging for a video game. So,
Yeah.
so who
Video
knows?
game would
We'll
be
see.
perfect.
We'll see.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot of fun. That'd be a lot.
Yeah,
of
I mean,
fun.
like you've already got FIFA soccer, FIFA soccer already out there as video
Right.
games. So
Right.
if you did Bluelock as video games, you're going to kill it, because you're going to have all these manga fans, anime fans,
Yes.
just flooding to it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such an easy thing to do as well, because you've already got the mechanics from FIFA. All you got to do is change the characters' shirts, what they look, and
Yep.
boom, and
Yeah, add some special attacks or something,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating because, like, somebody's little idea in their head, like, I mean, once again, I'm talking about, when you're creating something like this, and you see how far a little idea can go if
Yes.
if you've got this, people behind it.
Absolutely.
Do you think, with, because now you're being invited to, because you're part of this now, you basically, I guess, I don't know how the, whatever the voice actor tiers are, but here now you're being invited to Comic Cons around, around America. So the latest one you're going to is this coming weekend, isn't it? On Saturday or Sunday in the US?
It'll be so 17th through the 19th. So that's what, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yep, and
Well,
it's
3 days.
Connuga in Tennessee. So in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm very excited. I'm actually going with another cast member named Alex Hom, who plays Kunigame, which is the guy with the orange hair.
Right.
So I'll be going with him as well. Yeah, very excited. Very, very excited. Yeah.
Is this your first con, or is it?
So it's my first out-of-state con. So there's a place here local to Dallas called Fanboys Marketplace, and they're kind of like a comic shop that is in all the local malls here, and they actually set up huge events that take over the entire mall. And so I was a part of that last year. So I actually was a part of the guest panels that they had, and so I would do signings last year. But this is my first con with with Bachira, like, and the momentum behind Bluelock. So I'm very curious to see, how many people know of it and where it goes from there. And what's very interesting though is I've talked to one or two cons in Australia that they couldn't get me out this year, but I'm on their list. I know I've talked to I think I talked to Armageddon Con in New Zealand. That's one I want to go to really bad, because I had someone on Twitter hit me up that was from New Zealand. I don't know what part they were from, but they were like, "Hey, are you ever coming out here?" And I'm like, "I'll try it." And that's how I found you guys, because I was looking for New Zealand cons. And so, I'm having UK, and it's nuts. Like I said, like this time last year, like I wasn't on anybody's radar, and now, I'm reaching out to cons, and they're considered bringing me out. It's absolutely nuts, but I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful for it. For sure.
Yeah. Well, I'll send your details to Will. Cool. He's Bill. Sorry, he's the guy who runs Armageddon. He's the boss of that. Cool. So I'll let him know, and just send us some more, what you're expecting and stuff, and I'll forward it to him, because he's a nice guy, and hey, we might even end up meeting in real life, right?
I would love that.
So
I would love
let's talk about conventions itself, because I think that's quite a real this is like we're talking about the stages of of an IP, of a character idea, and now you're actually going to a convention where people come up and go, "Hey, you're the voice of Bachira. Yes. Can you please sign this? Can you put this on here?" What's that like? Because I mean, you've had your little one, and here this could be like hundreds of people lining up. Yeah. I've been one of those guys who lines up, right?
Heck.
Yeah. So I've walked up to my gosh, I always forget her name, but she was in Sanctuary, and she was in Atlantis, and she's an English actress. And I walked up and I went, all I could do was smile, bro. Like I'm like nervous wreck, right? And I'm gonna get a photo taken. This is Armageddon. That's why I love Armageddon so much, because of what Bill does, allows people, international people to come and so I'm getting a photo, and she looks down at me because she's really tall. And I'm like, she goes, "What's your name?" I'm going, "I'm Aru." And I'm like, "Hi." He goes, "Hi, Aru. You're right." I'm good. Yeah. Okay. So she, we smile at each other and get the photo taken. I'm like, "Oh, that was nerve-wracking," and you're gonna get some people like me come up to you and like that. Yeah. So how do you, as the guy who sits on the other side of the, as a person sitting on the other side of the table, that couple minutes of interaction with a fan, how does that feel? And what, how do you deal with some, say someone who's a bit more, over the top or nervous or shy? Do you like kind of have an idea in your head how to deal with that? Or because you're an actor, right? So you run through all these ideas in your head.
Yes.
And you go, well, okay, if this person does this, and this is how we react. So how do you try to, in that couple of minutes, try to connect with, with a fan?
Well, so for me, the big reason why I, stayed with acting is not only do I love the craft itself, but I saw in theater how it made, like, my work made people feel. Like, I remember people came up to me after shows, and they would talk about how, like, I made them cry, or, oh my gosh, they hated my character because I was a villain or whatever. And that was a really special feeling. Like, for me, my idol is Johnny Depp. Like, I'm going to be honest, when it comes to celebrities, I tend to be like, meh. But if I met Johnny Depp, I would be, like you said, I would be, crying or like nervous and stuff like that, because he's done a lot for me, as a person, right? He's got his weird, like, Captain Jack Sparrow and stuff has gotten me through a lot. So I've been on that side of things, and I realized that some fans will be approaching me like that, and they'll be really nervous. But at the end of the day, like, I'm a fan of them, right? It's the other way around. Like, sure, they're a fan of my work, but I'm a fan of them. You know what I mean? And so, I try really hard to be friendly and to be approachable. And if you're nervous, then, hey, everyone gets nervous. That's fine. I get nervous when I, perform still, and I've been doing this forever. But every time I go in the booth, I'm still nervous. So it's okay to be nervous, but I try really hard to just be that guy that's just, oh my gosh, you're just so easy to talk to, and you're, a friendly guy. So, if anyone's nervous coming up to me, I'll try really hard to make you feel welcome and just comfortable. So,
yeah, it's because the thing is, like, people connect on with what you're doing as an artist on different levels.
yes.
It's because they already have in their minds what this, because the weird thing about comics and manga is, because it's just paper and words and lines, you in your own head have built up what your connection with these characters, and then it gets transformed to a anime, and now you see them move and you see their emotions and stuff, and then you have the actor come in, the voice actor come in and add vocalize, and you're kind of going, oh yeah, now I get it. So this is what the artist, what the writer was trying to show, because you think in your head this is what it's going to be like, but the mangaka is already thinking this is how this is, and
Right.
and then the voice actor comes in and brings this huge emotion to it, and that makes us connect on another level. I mean, I was watching a cartoon the other day, and I was welling up, because it was just some little um, kid talking, and it was like, what had happened was, oh, I know what it was. It was a Jung-E. It was a Korean movie, live action movie, Jung-E, and there was a part in there where she's a child. The main actress is a child, and it's about this future world where they have this hero warrior who dies, and then they use her body for brain for other things to create some other super warriors, and because you're watching this whole arc of the film, this one moment grabs you because you realize this connection with we've lost the screen visual, but I'm sure we'll get it back. But if you haven't seen Jung-E, it's really cool to watch, because it feels like, I'm not sure if was supposed to be a manhwa, but it's come up from that. But the film itself feels like a manhwa. I mean, sorry, manga. But the sad thing is that the main actress in it actually passed away about a year ago or something, which made it even sadder after having watched it. So I'm just going to wait for Drew, because he's still on screen, but I'm not sure what his visual is. So hopefully we can get him back. Now, I'm not spend too much time taking up too much time with Drew's, because I know he's pretty busy, but I want to come back and just have him finish off here. So hopefully, right. We've lost Drew. I think it might be because of our connection. We had problems earlier, as you know. So if you're an anime fan and you're not into sports, the cool thing about this is, if you're not into sports, you will still enjoy Bluelock. The reason for that is it has horror moments, it has comedy moments, and it has sci-fi in it. And the thing is that it's such a fun anime, which kind of like what mangas really, do on a visceral level, where they sort of connect. They take an idea and they take it to the next level. I mean, if you've seen, say something like I mentioned a lot, the fishing, the little girls fishing, the junior high school girls or middle school girls fishing show. It's, and you're watching these kids fish, and each week they go and fish, and yet,
Sorry about that.
That's all right. And so, you see a fishing show with girls in it, and you're thinking this could be totally boring, and yet you learn how to fish by watching this anime. I still can't remember the name of it, but if you haven't seen it, just look up anime fishing junior high girls club. It's such a cool thing. And so with the thing about this is why I mentioned it is, like, with the soccer, right? With the soccer, Bluelock soccer anime, kids could get into playing soccer who haven't thought about it, or who haven't, because they're watching this anime, or even teenagers, whatever. And now the popularity of this World Cup all around the world really, next, the Gen Z now would be like kids coming up. I don't even know what those kids are going to be called. But these 5-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 12-year-olds will be going, Bluelock, let's watch that. And soccer, and this is kind of things that something like this happens to inspire people. It's like All Out, right?
Yes.
All Out got people into rugby. And then also that other one I mentioned earlier, basketball, got kids into playing basketball because of watching anime.
Prince of Tennis did that for me. I mean, I ended up playing playing tennis and still play tennis a little bit to this day because I watched Prince of Tennis.
Was it a live action Prince of Tennis, or was it
It was the old school, the anime. It was the anime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. What was it called anyway? Sorry, this convention next weekend.
So it's actually called Con Nuga because it takes place in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So it's Con, C-O-N, and then it's N-O-O-G-A.
Forget that.
Cool. That's all good. Hey guys, this is Drew Breedlove, voice of Bachira and Bluelock. Make sure to come out to Plunge. Sorry, hold on. Let me restart. Sometimes doing these live action, you got to restart. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey guys, this is Drew Breedlove, the voice of Bachira from Bluelock. Make sure to come out to Plunge April 15th. And man, yeah.
this is like doing a voice acting, right? You're in the studio doing voice acting.
It's different, man. Like, you should see me when I do commercial auditions. My girlfriend tapes them, and sometimes I've got to redo it all the time. So yeah, it's fun. So I'll do one more for so it's Plunge. What's the full name?
Plunge Pop Culture Convention, 15th of April.
Cool, awesome. Hey guys, this is Drew Breedlove, voice of Bachira in Bluelock. Make sure to come out to Plunge Pop Culture Convention on April 15th. It's gonna be awesome.
That was perfect. I just wanted to see. This is the thing, right? So people don't know what it's like doing ADR.
Yes.
And you could be there for all day, or all week, working on a couple of lines, making it right, and you've got your director going, do it again, again, just a bit more emotion, or a bit more heart, what feeling,
all the time,
but
all the time.
Does it get tiring?
It just depends. It depends on a couple different factors. Sometimes it depends on the time, because I have had times where I've had to be on set at like 2 or 3 a.m. And when a scene demands a lot and it's that early in the morning, then you're like, oh, wow. Right. And then it also depends on what take you're on. Like if you're on take like 20, hopefully you don't get there. Usually you get it beforehand, but like in the rare occurrence that you're on like 20 takes, it's like, oh, okay, just let's get it over with, But a lot of times from what I've noticed, like for me personally, whenever I go into a booth or whatever, it usually only takes like max, like if I'm doing really bad, like 3 to 6 takes, usually. Right. And that's what I try to aim for. Like any more than that, I'm like, all right, something's off with me today. You know what I mean? So, cause, I've acted when I'm, feeling under the weather too. And I noticed with that, it takes a few more takes cause you're not all, not necessarily there. So, but, it's not too bad. Not too bad.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Drew. I really appreciate your time and for you being here. And I hope, I hope Bill brings you to New Zealand, because that'll be awesome. If not, if not this year, because we're in February. I thought this month was April, because yesterday was the 11th. And then I thought it's my sister's birthday. And I was like, I was about to go and message her and go, hey, happy birthday. And I thought, wait, it's April. Look, I was going to look like a dunce, but like, yeah.
Oh,
so
I feel
thank you
that,
so
man.
much.
All my days are meshing together, man. I feel that.
And so how, like, this is the first season's come out. So how long did you spend over that period of this entire season on the VA part of this, like dubbing and all that?
So every time I go in at least usually once a week. Later, I'm not going to spoil it, but there have been 1 or 2 episodes that have come out that Bachira's not in. So, but I've been in pretty much every episode. So usually I've had some sessions where I'm in there for 15, 30 minutes. And then I have some sessions where I'm in there for 2.5, almost 3 hours.
Wow.
So it just kind of depends. Usually I'm in there for about an hour, hour and a half. And yeah, I mean, so all in all, I mean, not as much as you think. I probably put maybe on a non-conservative level, probably put 20 hours, 25 hours into it over the course of 15 weeks, which actually isn't that bad. So yeah, but it's
and then you
been
got
a lot of
season
fun.
2 coming soon as well. Have they
I hope
announced
so.
season 2 yet, or?
They have not, but I have read somewhere on the internet through the grapevine that the Japanese director hinted at adapting the entire manga. So if that happens, and I did the math, they've been doing about 3 to 3.5 episodes, or 3.5 chapters per episode. So that's probably, if they adapted the entire manga, and they're a fan of the manga told me that they just introduced something in the recent chapter that makes it seem like it's going to go even further. But if they adapted to what they have right now, that's at least 70 episodes.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And that's
So
if they do right
that
now.
means, that means you got a lot of work on your hand for this character.
I hope so, man. I hope so, dude. That would be cool. I know that I know Haikyuu is one that we get compared to a lot. I know that they have a lot of episodes as well, but I've never actually seen it. I've heard it's very good though.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you want to say, and as we finish off, or the other thing I do here is like I do like a 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes where you have your own say of like a final word, and what you would like to say. So we could do that now, and then we'll say our goodbyes and thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right.
Yeah.
Give me a
Be
second
down.
to put you on solo.
So guys, just advice from an actor if you decide to go into acting, or really as an artist in general, just be prepared. A lot of people think I got Bachira overnight, but it took me about 8 years of doing voiceover work to get here. So it's when you're first starting, it can seem really daunting, and it is. It's very difficult. It's a very difficult thing. There's a reason a lot of people give up. But if you love it a lot and you constantly put yourself in a situation where you can grow as not only as an artist, but as an individual, and you keep growing and you keep developing friendships and you keep developing your craft, and you just stick with it, somewhere down the line, it may be a year from now, it may be 12 to 15 years from now, but somewhere down the line, if you keep at it, you will have your breakthrough. And I 100% believe that, so things are going to be difficult. There will be times where you really want to give up, but just listen to that voice in the back of your head and keep going, and you'll be fine. And I wish you the best, because it's a lot of fun, like being on this side of it. And to me, this is like the starting point. Like Bachira, like I've spent years building that foundation to my house, and with Bachira, I can finally start putting the planks on, So spend years, build that foundation, and then when you have your breakthrough, you'll be ready and you can just go full force. So best of luck to you. You guys are going to do great. So
Excellent. Thank you so much. And hey, thank you for reaching out. I mean, we've been talking since last year on emails, and finally got to actually do this. And I really appreciate it. And all the best, man. Like seriously, all the best. You're a very personable person, and I'm sure everybody is gonna enjoy seeing you at cons, meeting you and hearing you speak. Did they have you on a speaking thing as well at the con, or just
so a couple of the cons, so the Bluelock boys, we kind of have some of the cons we're going to, we have like a traveling circus, so the director actually may be going with us to some of them too.
Awesome.
So there's a lot of us, and they do have us on panels, so a lot of them we will be answering Q&As. So if you're interested, if you're over here, or you're planning a trip in the States, and we're near a con near, we're at a con near where you're going to be, like come say hi and ask us some questions. But we're going to be talking about the show and who we are as people and actors and characters and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I'm doing
Awesome.
a lot of panels this year. I'm very excited, nervous, but I'm very excited.
Yeah. I mean, it just shows the popularity of the actual anime and the manga that you guys are able to actually do this thing and travel around and meet people also into it. I think the fan base is very lovable and very dedicated, to what they're into. And I think it's just, I've been a fan of things for, since I was like, I don't know, about 10, 15 years old, and just really going hard for comics and stuff. And now I'm into manga quite a lot because it's just an easy access to the material. And because, like before you couldn't find it, and now you can. And every comic book store, every toy store, I mean, like, GameStop. Here in New Zealand, we have EB. You've got like anime stores now. You've got libraries, school libraries has it, whereas before you wouldn't see a manga there. And now you've got the entire volumes that's been released there. And I think it's just such a cool thing being able to see the variety of what's available in this medium, anime and manga. And I love the fact that they back the manga cards, and hopefully the manga cards are really well looked after because of all the amount of money that is made from these things being so popular. As I mentioned, I'm a writer myself and I'm creating comics and stuff. So, if somebody, hopefully that someday something I create becomes whether somebody's voice acting the character, it comes back on me as well as everybody else. So I love this whole fandom around animes, and I love the fact that what you're doing is like kind of like the next level to it, where you're able to now go to conventions and say, hey, I'm Bachira and I'm here, Bachira, and and thank you for this is what I do, and thank you, like you're the fan, and I'm now also the fan. It's I love the way you talk about these things, and thank you for your time. I really appreciate it, and
thank you.
we'll get Bill to bring you over, and if not, in the future sometime. Thank you so much, Drew, and all the best for next weekend at Con Nuga. And for everybody that's watching, and like he said, if you Drew said, if you're in America, and if if there's a con where he's near you that he's at, go out and check it out. And it is a good manga. It is a good anime, and it looks like it's done with a lot of love. And to see voice actors put a lot of love into it is another awesome thing. So thank you for your time, and we'll catch you next time.
All right,
Thank you so everybody.
Much. Bye, guys.
You're welcome, Drew.